That's fine. So, Brian, you're with us. Or let's move on to our next presentation. We have a couple more yet this afternoon, again around technology. Our next presenter is Brian Milne. Brian is with Zinc 360. And just like all of the things this afternoon, you know, the capability of modern technology, it's never ceases to amaze me, and that's from an engineer with a PhD in artificial intelligence. It's still fascinating. Brian's presentation is a perfect example of what is possible, I think, in the right creative and innovative hands. And certainly Brian has those hands. He's founder and technical director of Zinc 360. He's got over 25 years experience in creating innovative visualization solutions in a variety of industries: oil and gas, marine, forensic, security, training, all sorts of things. And certainly the first time that I saw some of the things that Brian's going to show us here, I was absolutely blown away by what was possible. So, with that build up, then Brian, I'll let you do the rest and hand over.
Thanks, Doug. And just to confirm, can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's up there. It's perfect.
Great. I think. Thanks for the opportunity to present, and thanks to everybody else that's presented beforehand. It's been some really fascinating topics and presentations. I think all the presentations I've seen, there's lots of areas where I can see sort of overlap and sort of areas of synergy with what we deliver in terms of visualization. So the people that don't know me, I think it's kind of, I'll spend a little bit of time doing a little longer introduction about background about who I am, the company, so you get a better feeling for what we are. I'll explain the Zinc visualization platform a little bit more, then I'll dive into how that can be applied to risk, and then finish off with some use cases, and then intersperse that with some live demos of the software in action, and then obviously hand over some questions. So just a little bit of background about who we are and the company. We're a sustainable software and services company, as Doug mentioned, with over 25 years experience delivering these type of solutions to a wide range of companies, from large companies to super major companies in all sorts of sectors. We first developed this tool as a crime scene management tool, as Alan, who presented earlier, could testify to, and it really became an invaluable sort of piece of technology to aid incident investigation, from initially capturing a crime scene, then investigating in a collaborative manner, to then being able to present that as evidence in court. We then adapted that solution into the oil and gas industry. It was adopted by major operators to help manage, maintain their assets, and then reduce the need to travel, and ultimately also getting the benefit of reducing risks and helping things like POB, create greater efficiencies, etc. Over this period, we've continued to develop the technology, try to stay at the forefront of technology. In the last 5 years or so, the technology landscape's really changed. But we continue to innovate, and it's really part of core of what the company does. So what I'm hoping to do today is show you how the Zinc platform we've developed, and Incisio, or STS Incisio now, are a key partner in that, and helping us develop this platform with their technology and expertise, aligned with our knowledge and experience in that area. And what we're planning to do today is show how the platform can help deliver intuitive business continuity. And over the last 18 months, it's kind of been proven, as it's enabled our clients to continue to manage and maintain their assets during a global pandemic, which is kind of new for most of us. And then because of the accessibility of the platform being a cloud platform, it's unlocked a large number of new remote working opportunities, which the software was kind of in a great position to be able to deliver. It also helps companies reduce risk, which obviously is kind of a key point and the key focus of this conversation. And that's done through better planning and understanding of the asset, and also reducing that requirement to travel to and from location, which, just as a sort of like a side, is also better for the environment, which is very sort of pertinent at the moment. It can give users access to information really quickly from anywhere, any device, at any time. And that immediate access is really important, and also enables collaboration through an entire organization and through all the third parties that you use and work in projects. And it's not just kind of just tied down to single use cases with just individuals being able to get access to the data they need. It's really about opening this out to the entire business. And combining all these things together, it really does help deliver operational excellence throughout the business. And moving on to the next slide. So digital twins are a word that everybody's getting more and more familiar. We kind of prefer to almost use the term visual twin because it really is founded in being able to visualize and better understand your asset, whatever that may be. And our definition of that is on screen there. So a virtual geospatial replica of your asset where you can access it securely from anywhere at any time and by anyone. So the geospatial element, that's really crucial from a sustainability and integration point of view going forward. How that can get tied into other platforms and technology such as augmented reality, and potentially even some of the other systems we've seen today. And the simplicity and accessibility of the platform, that's really key to maximizing adoption across an organization, increasing the number of people that use it, get benefit from it, and also the use cases that can be derived from being able to get as many people embedded in the platform. So just as a slight overview of how the platform works, I've got a very simple kind of mind map that I'll start building up on the screen. And we see ourselves here in the middle as I mentioned, as a visual twin, which is founded in geospatial information. And then the foundation of that is really the technology. So the technology is really important, and that it's modern, accessible by as many people as possible. And then the features and functionality, that really gives the sort of kind of where people get the value out of accessing that data. When you add to that service and support that we deliver, data capture and sustainability and integration and customization to other platforms, it really takes it to that next level. The bottom elements give you the platform, but the top ones really add extra value. And what I mean by all these different areas in a bit more detail are things like in the technology, we're using some of the very latest things. Agility has been mentioned a few times today. It is really developed and customized as we grow, working with our clients to see how it can be adapted to suit their working practices and the challenges they have, almost in I suppose, a consultancy way of saying, well, what's your problem? This is how the platform can work for you. We've mentioned accessibility, so that's everything from if you've got a desktop, tablet, mobile, even VR headsets, mixed reality, all that kind of, you can access the data in lots of different forms to digest it for the different use cases, whether it's training, familiarization, is all available there. So some really powerful tools within the software. You can put in most places where you are, you can take measurements for planning purposes, draw, annotate within the environment, search it extensively to find the information you require. And then from the integration perspective over here on the right, you can pull in live data, pull in all your taxonomies information, and pull other third-party data together. And then in the data capture side, we're doing a lot, where we started with way back sort of 20 years ago, it really was around a very simple concept of 360 photogrammetry, allowing you to see data. But now we're pulling in data from all different types of data sources, from drones, from laser scans, from videos, even working with companies about using, you've all probably seen Spot the Dog in action, pulling the data from that. So as some large companies start striving towards autonomous assets where the robot captures the data, all that can be ingested into the platform and made available. So that's a kind of fairly high level overview. It gives you an idea of the type of data that's getting pulled in and then being made available. I'll then kind of move on more some of the actual sort of benefits to risk. Excuse me a sec. So training familiarization, it plays a key role in ensuring employees can work safely. A visual twin of your asset or work location provides an accessible platform for users to see exactly what their work environment looks like without actually being there. And as I've mentioned already, that can be from your desktop, your mobile device, your VR headset. This then allows users to improve their understanding of the environment, the hazards associated with it, as well as better plan and put in place the mitigations before the work starts. Safety processes and potential outcomes can be uploaded and overlaid, for example, risk assessments, and the relevant safety equipment, evacuation routes can be illustrated within the software. By visiting the work location from your desktop, mobile device, or anything prior to it, allows the members of the project team to have a better understanding of the tasks and risks, allowing them to raise questions at an early opportunity, improve planning, as well as decreasing the risk, all of which will result in improvement, efficiencies, and a get right first mentality is what we've kind of been installing in some of our clients, where in the past the approach was send out somebody, find out what the job is, okay, send somebody back out to do it, and then somebody's a third time to fix the problem that wasn't done right because of poor planning. All this can be done in advance, remotely, and to one, reduce risk, and two, get that kind of get it right first time. What I'll do now is I'll dive into an example of how creating better awareness and tying this into the platform from a work planning perspective, and give you a quick overview of how the platform in its basic format works. So I click this link here, it takes me straight into it. So this comes back to accessibility. That link that I clicked on there is what we call a direct link in the platform. It gives you access and takes you to that work site or area really quickly. You can then navigate very quickly around the asset. As you can see, point and click, and you're loading exceptionally high resolution data and images where you can zoom in, read data. It's doing it exceptionally quickly using demand loading technology. In this particular scenario here, there's some work going on, and I can sort of like look at there's lots of artifacts that are overlaid. As you can see, there's hotspot position, there's work that's going on that's color coded. So all these icons mean something, which you'll learn as you start using the platform. But sometimes you don't want this area to be too busy. So we've also got layering within all these different windows that come open. It can open 4 different types of data sources at once. If you click on here, that's also highlighted as some hazardous or work areas that are going on. I can go onto that area and see immediately there's something happening in this area. Click on it and find out a little bit more information. It talks about there's a process utility upgrade going in this area. Now this can all then be, I can then take that and then interrogate the registers a bit further. What work is going on in that area? So let's have a look at all the work packs that are available, search the system, it'll filter it down, take me to where that work activity is happening. It shows the environment of the process utility upgrade. You can then pan around, view, and navigate around it if you so wish. But what we've also added in here is the ability to then put basically step-by-step instructions, all the different tasks. So all the stages of work in here, firstly, make the work area safe, put isolations in place, remove the insulation, etc. So there's step-by-step instructions that you'll also notice are color-coded to say which ones have been completed and which ones haven't. So that can all be tracked in the system as well. If I click on the first one, for example, it'll take you to a layer where we went to the same environment, but it's marked up the area that needs to be safe. Again, for somebody that's going in the system, they could just click on that, get the details of the upgrade and what the description of that work is. The next stage of that work can then be looked at, so let's put the isolations in place. They can all be annotated and viewed easily within the platform. Now, all this functionality is built into the platform, a very simple user-friendly tool set. Just go into the drawing tools and you can draw these circles, annotations, and then share them with other people in the system. So that gives you an idea of how the platform works, how it can be used. We can also overload lots of other information in the register. So that goes back to what Mark was talking earlier about taxonomies. Taxonomies can be integrated very simply into the platform and overlaid. So we've also got equipment that's available here. So if I search for something in the system here, for example, like a pump, I can then go in there, pull that pump data, click to it and find out where that pump's located, find out more information about that pump. It's also got its geospatial data, which is either aligned to the real world or to site coordinates. And I can also pull in live data. So there's live information about the latest information on another system. You can just click on there, pull that data into another window in the system. So again, that's a very quick sort of overview of some of the functionality of Zinc applied to sort of creating awareness and aiding work planning within the environment. I'll go back to the PowerPoint. And on to the next section, which is accessing sort of relevant information. So I've kind of showed already a quick way that we can easily find information within the, I think I've actually jumped on slide, no, I'm on the right slide. So we use this term search, find, locate. So this is where we can easily find information within the platform. So the powerful search features let you locate information in a secured and controlled way. So we can control who sees the different artifacts. So maybe there's a team in the system that the safety team, all their data can keep segregated from the engineering information, keep separate from the training information, using very simple controlled systems in the platform. As we've mentioned before, that you can access it really quickly on any device. So when you're in the field, in the office, you can go into the information and get it and contextualize it really quickly. Once you've got that information, you're able to locate it and contextualize it. All the data within the environment can be associated and linked to visual elements such as 360 images I've shown, other photographs, maps, GIS maps, plans, 3D models, drone data, laser scan, the list goes on. And even virtual environments. So it could be an environment where that doesn't even exist yet and you want to create scenarios for learning about trading. All that can be embedded into the area. Once you start putting all this in place, it really starts becoming a single source of truth that allows users to make better, more informed decisions. It can also help companies manage and retain knowledge, which is often lost when key personnel move on. That's quite a common theme in sort of like the energy industry just now, that a lot of people are moving on, that knowledge is lost. So the system is great for doing that because they can go back and historical information that's kept within the platform. Another key area is we've recently developed built-in sustainability features into the platform, where management of change can be managed and controlled, thus providing an environment where remote workers can trust the data, which is really important. We are diving into this environment. You want to ensure that what you're looking at is current, up to date, and relevant to the job in hand across that whole organization. So quickly go back into software and do another quick demo. Again, this is an oil and gas environment here at an offshore platform. It's actually a decommissioned asset now. If I click this view here and you can see how quickly you can navigate around it. And you can see things like areas of concern are highlighted in platform, like a damaged walkway, highlights what that damage is and makes you aware of that scenario. And from a searching perspective, you can simply go into here and search for things like, typically in I suppose a decommissioned asset, you'd think most of the kit was removed, but certain key bits of kit and equipment must be maintained within that environment to, even though it's shut down and the production's gone, it still needs to be a safe environment. So things like gas detectors need to be kept and maintained. So if we look in here and go to the gas detectors, we can see all the locations of the gas detectors, flame detectors. Clicking on one will take you where that's located, show you what deck it's on, where you're looking, and then you can click on there for further information, find out documentation related to it, things like the specification sheets, the operating procedures, and again, that can be carried into other areas as well. So again, just another simple illustration of how tying this information together and giving it visual context can really help enable our clients' productivity, make them safer, and help in that planning process. Back to the slideshow. Next thing we'll look at is emergency planning and response, which again ties back to some of the stuff that's been talked today, and some of the words here I think I've heard being used. So we often sorry, that's an emergency. I'm the wrong one again. Sorry. So visualization of the asset can provide that space to better plan and implement your emergency response processes and procedures. From a compliance perspective, where all your processes, procedures are made available from a duty of care perspective, where it can help you visualize and identify the risks, and to operations, where the processes or procedures, etc., can be effectively communicated through the platform. Also, as an incident response tool, it can be invaluable in the response phase, helping to regain control of an asset, regain control of a situation, with real-time collaboration and updates being done. As shown already, key information will be quickly found and shared and contextualized. People with an unfamiliar location can get better and understanding prior to getting to the site and view that data en route site of an emergency service. Data can be continually added throughout this process, keeping the team up to date with what's ongoing events. Remote users, maybe with specialist knowledge, can contribute to the incident. And then afterwards, it can then be used as an incident investigation tool. And then all that information can then be used for training, lessons learned in the future. And that can then get cycled back into some of the stuff that we've seen today. I will show a quick example of what I mean by this. So for example, if it was an incident and people are unfamiliar with where they're going, you could get this link that would go straight to there. You could find out where the key services are located, and then maybe what the incidents happened at the airport. They want to know, well, how long is it going to take, maybe the fire, to get there. So just go into here and have a look at the emergency services routes to that location. You can click on any of these bits of information and it'll tell you how long it is away, typically in the best route for these services to take. So very quickly contextualizing location in a visual platform related to an incident that's happening. And finally, just a quick example that happened in this a couple of years ago, where there was an incident. Our client, a refinery owner, had access to a survey already of a visual twin of their refinery, which is obviously really beneficial for them. There was an explosion in one of the pipe racks due to corroded pipework, which was caused by extensive fire damage. The Zinc 360 team was mobilized to the site to capture the incidents, but that could be people on your site as part of the emergency response team if they had camera kit or any sort of data capture equipment. In this case, our team captured the data with a combination of 360 photogrammetry, standard photography, video, drone data, and this was uploaded to the Zinc platform and made available to the response team. Zinc was then used to plan the response between the operator and the third-party contractors. This led to the safe removal of the damaged pipework, modification and installation required, to repeat the repairs, and then bringing production back to normal output in a safe and quick manner. And as there was, I mentioned that pre and post capture was then used to do the investigation of the root causes, because we had the data beforehand. Was there anything in that data that would highlight what could have happened, and then looking forward as well to how that could be stopped in the future. So that's kind of an illustration of how the technology can be used for emergency planning and response. Just how am I doing for time, Doug? Am I okay? Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you're doing grand because we're a wee bit ahead anyway. So
great.
Fine.
Okay, next one, integration. So I think Mark mentioned this earlier. We often come across companies ourselves that are looking for what's called the silver bullet solution, a platform that does everything. And where some platforms do profess to do this, there's typically a compromise in certain areas of expertise if you had something that did everything. So our approach is really to focus on what we deliver best, which is visualization, access to that data, and then integrate with other systems that are better suited to that particular use case. Typically that would be a system the client is already using, but that's not always the case. And there's many ways, and some of them are on screen here, of how we effectively integrate with other platforms. The cloud-based architecture that's been developed allows for very simple, powerful integration with most third-party products that are cloud-based, web-based, or even not. They can still be desktop-based, but obviously most things are moving to the cloud now. That can be everything from document management systems, procurement systems, workpack systems, SharePoint even, and even link very simply into the documents like I've done today. I've tied it into PowerPoint. As the platform's geospatial, any of the data that has got geospatial metadata can be automatically overlaid in the environment. So we do come across clients that have got really good metadata already around their assets and information. That can then automatically be, as I said, positioned within that platform. And as part of ongoing collaboration with STS and CISIO, we're looking at integrating this and overlaying some of the visualization components within their common platform to enhance that offering and how that can be used to help that process. Live data feeds, they can all be accessed and viewed just by creating hotspots to those live feeds, and again, associating them with location to give contacts, and then giving users timely, relevant information from that data. Something now that we actively encourage is people using their existing data. They don't need to use our data, and so often that many companies have just got data sitting on hard drives, inaccessible data lakes, other complex systems where people can get access to. So what we're trying to do with Zinc is create a platform where you can leverage all that data, import it into the platform, and again, make it accessible to as many people as possible so you can get value from that data. The Zinc platform does this very well. It allows for large, sometimes really complex visualization data to be uploaded, made available, and work. And it works kind of using what I'd mentioned already, using, you see when I was doing the demos, that data loaded instantly. And that's because it uses demand loading technology that even works on slow 4G connections to pull the data in a controlled fashion. So effectively, it's only loading what you need to see, and there's layers and layers of more that you, as you zoom in, for example, that data gets fed back to you in a streamed way, so it feels almost like it's instantaneous. As I mentioned, the ability to capture your own visualization data is becoming more popular. Phones, everybody's got a phone now, they're taking photographs. People have got what's, I suppose, are termed as self-capture kits that can take really high quality video, 360 data, etc. And you even got mobile devices now that'll take laser scan LiDAR type data. So all this type of data can be merged into the platform, made accessible either in construction or all these different industries. That data can be loaded, made accessible to the teams that maybe aren't on site, where they can get value from that data. And I kind of mentioned in the introduction, now a lot of these things are looking at ways that process can be automated, either by the way they're uploaded to the system or by the way the data is captured. I kind of mentioned earlier how we're working with companies, how that data from robots can be pulled into the platform automatically, as a lot of these companies try to go to this autonomous asset type vision, and where Zinc could really work as an interface to pull the data in and then make that data accessible to people without them requiring to visit or be on the sites, apart from on the essential purposes. So, time for a few use cases of where this where Zinc has been used from I suppose a safety angle. I'll talk through this slide. I suppose I'll put it in a bit more detail as opposed to the bulletized way that I've done the other ones. Just so if we send the slides out, you can make more sense. So the first example is I call an HFAU unit in a refinery. So HF is an acid that's highly corrosive, toxic, and there's lots of risks associated with it. The access to this unit is strictly limited due to that hazard. Personnel who do access that unit must go through specialist training. They're subject to strict procedures when they're in there, time limits, etc., and they must wear PPE suits to carry out the work. The HSE asset creates recurring corrosion problems that affect the reliability and safety. So once the capture team completed all the training and adhere to all the site rules, they were able to go and capture that survey. What that then resulted in was a visualization that was delivered to the client that specifically allowed the turnaround planning team that had a major operation be able to access that information remotely without having to go through all the steps I've just mentioned there, where it will plan the work tasks, engage effectively with third-party contractors who could easily access the system, identify the site hazards, and all this resulted in them removing the need to visit the unit, greatly reduce the risk and save the time spent in the field, which effectively then had other efficiencies that they got from that as well. So that's one example. Use case two, another in a gas plant, an acid gas injection unit. This one was in the United States, and it's one of the highest levels of H2S gas in the United States running through it. So there was an immediate dangerous danger to life due to the level of H2S. H2S, and I won't go through the numbers there, but obviously it was a very hazardous area with specialist equipment, like for example for breathing, etc., had to be worn, as well as a backup as well. There's a real limit on time and how long they had to be in there, and again the surveyors who captured this area had to navigate lots of hazards within that environment. But when that was done, that was then allowed numerous other users to be able to visualize and understand the work site, again reducing the number of site visits, enable that remote planning, get a better understanding of the hazards that were there, and a better understanding of the work scopes that were required to be carried out by the team doing the changes to that environment in the future. The final use case I'll cover today is as a railway network. So this project is around capturing the assets along a long stretch of railway, and using a combination of 360 data, laser scanning to produce a visual record of the condition pre and post construction phase. Assets include things like bridges, walls, signal equipment, overhead cables, and due to as I'm sure some of you will know, the restriction to getting access to networks, and all that survey work must be completed at night. So choosing the right capture methodology is really important to ensure that when that data is then delivered, that people can then access it remotely during the day to carry out condition and monitoring reports associated with that data, and then allow other third-party contractors access to that site without having to do the inductions, the training, and impacting on the operation of the network. The work scope for the sector is to be expanded, include all the documentation of the access points. So that's, again, adding a library of information where people can find the data, contextualize the data, plan and prepare for that data in a modern, accessible platform. So just to summarize, so the Zinc platform is a global solution, available from anywhere, anytime, by anyone. And that's really important, that anyone bit. It's giving that access to as many people as possible to leverage maximum value. And there's no requirement to install any software or plugins on your machine. It's intuitive, user-friendly, simple to use, allowing people to easily access and contextualize information. The platform itself is agile, adaptable, and can work across many sectors, as well as being sustainable and secure. With regards to HSE and living with the risk, the platform, as I've kind of hopefully demonstrated, delivers intuitive business continuity, remote working capabilities, reduced risk, immediate access to relevant information, collaboration across an entire business, all working together to sort of deliver operational excellence. Thanks for the time and opportunity to present, and I'll pass it back to you, Doug, and if there's any questions, I'll happily hopefully be able to answer them.
Thanks, Brian. Wow, I think sums up again what I see about what you've presented, but I'll let others comment on that first of all. Anyone want to pick up on the technology there that Brian's describing, again, in terms of use and application in particular, or questions around its deployment? Yes, Berger. Yeah.
Just a quick one. How long, let's say you talked about the rail element, how long would it take to, I don't know, do like a mile of track that you mentioned? So obviously you're doing night shift, etc. Just as a ballpark figure.
It really varies depending on the capture technology and the resources you apply to it. So if you've got a limited time available, so for example, a night shift, you could capture, say, 4 assets in that time. But if you want to do it faster, you could apply more resource to it or do a different capture technique. And as these techniques develop, if you start talking about the autonomous robot captures, more data can be captured that way. And there's different techniques, and the technologies advance. And so it's one of those, there's not like a number, but for example, the project of capturing sort of like 25 miles of rail track is a project that at the moment is being done by a fairly small team over a sort of like a 3 to 4 year period, just working at weekends and nights. Now, if that could be done in better times and with more resource, obviously that could be drastically reduced. But when that data is delivered, it's kind of delivered sort of like within an agreed period with the contract that has to be delivered within sort of 10 working days of when the data is captured, so that people get immediate access to start planning. So it all comes down, I suppose, to resources, and whether that's third parties that are capturing the data or people that are within the organization that can do it while they're on the job. And that's where some of these new technologies and new techniques have been able to capture data, and with correct personnel, and they could do it while they're maybe on doing another activity. So that kind of opens up those options.
Right. Okay. And that follows on with my second question, which is, as you just mentioned in your final comment there, obviously within rail you need to have certain competencies before you can even get onto the track itself. So
yes.
How easy would it be, for example, for our guys to pick up the zinc equipment, if you like, and start doing the work themselves?
Well, as I say, that's a really changing workspace in terms of the types of equipment that's available to do this. And it really depends if you're doing laser scan. Are you doing drone data if you're want to look at it from the aerial perspective? Are you just using standard photography? Because using just standard photography, you can create a 3D model these days if you know the right techniques to do it. Are you using 3D photography? So if we were doing the project, which is often the case, it was a case of our guys are highly skilled, and you'll get I suppose they've done the training and worked in some of the most hazardous environments around the world. They can go out and be delivered. If you're wanting to get your guys trained up, the case of would be a training program that we provide, and then we'd work with you to work out with the best type of data capture you'd want, and then we'd learn the techniques. What we do is offer a service for if you want to deliver this in your platform. We've got like a gold, silver, bronze pathway where you start off by just capturing the data, delivering it with us, and then we'll upload and manage the data for you while we are getting the training. So it's like an agile approach for you getting up to speed, supported by our team, to effectively, when you get to goal, they're effectively just self-sufficient, capturing the data, uploading the data, managing the data, and delivering the data yourself. So it's like as a partnership to get to that gold sort of level where you're sort of doing everything yourself. You go through that training program.
All right, brilliant. Cheers.
Thanks. Andreas, hand up there.
Yep. Hi. Thank you, Brian, for your presentation. I wanted to ask you, well, I think Birju just asked one of the questions I already had, but so imagine you have to record or to take videos or photo or pictures on a very dangerous environment, let's say offshore. Do you usually take your own team to the asset, or can we provide our own? And second question I had, I see examples here that you've made that are really applied to very big assets, very big plants. Let's say we would like to introduce this to something smaller, such as a machine room or maybe a turbine nacelle or something like that, a wind turbine nacelle. Would it be possible to adapt your solution to this?
Yes, again, I'll answer your second question first because it's just fresh in my mind. Yeah, this solution is really works for small. We've worked with them in the renewable sector with wind farms to very small assets like some of these new. We've done some work recently with them. Some of the new sort of small microbreweries have got their asset captured, and then they can. And because it can be done at a low cost, either by themselves or us, then they can start overlaying their environment, and they've got all the tools to then share it. They can use it from lots of different angles, from a safety, training, understanding. They can also use it from almost a tourism perspective to share the virtual tour. So there's lots of leverage in that data that's captured. As far as say the question you had about going offshore, typically that obviously that's a hazardous environment, and the examples I showed you earlier in refineries. Our team would typically go to these environments, typically because the people offshore that are already working have already got busy jobs, and if they're sitting about doing nothing, you're best to get somebody that's specifically knowledgeable and trained, one of the hazards and two of the techniques of capturing it the best way. What we learned very early on when we were doing work offshore was that we thought, well, we'll just capture it in a grid-like fashion. That'll give all the data they need. But there's a lot more skill to it than that. What you have to try and do when you're capturing this data is make sure you get from all the angles. So that means you cover it in lots of different ways so that people can see the different angles of equipment so they can plan out. We also do like a more advanced capture to create the geospatial information to get that extra level of value. So we have a datum in our data capture kit that allows for measurement within the images. So within all the images, you can go and take measurements within there for planning and purposes. So to get to that level of competency, to be able to capture the full geospatial environment, that's kind of where we deliver the premium service. But if you just want the visual context, maybe without all the geospatial bits behind it to get the smaller stuff, that's something that's definitely doable by yourself. And there's numerous sort of what they call self-capture kits that you can go out. The only warning I would say to you is in these things, especially if you're taking them offshore, there's lots of restrictions about usage of smart devices offshore, whether it's because of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. and we make sure our kit's effectively intrinsically safe for going out to that facilities in that hazardous areas.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Oh, Douglas, I think you're on mute.
You're on
Sorry.
mute. Doug.
We managed to get almost a whole day without someone saying you're on mute, and it trusts me to be the one to. So I was going to say, Brian, what about more sort of dynamic environments? You know, is that really a challenge, or you have solutions to that? You know, where things change maybe more frequently.
And that's where the self-capture type mindset is much more prevalent, where you want to. So, for example, if you want it to be geospatial, now there are ways of taking the data off of cameras, the geospatial information, and plotting it. Some of the issues around that is the accuracy of the data. Ours is like really accurate down to sort of like millimeter sort of accuracy, whereas if you start using inbuilt geospatial devices, I don't know if you've ever used them on your phone, they're not incredibly accurate. So then you try and automatically plot things within an environment, they're not super accurate. What we can do is we can create a base for some of the clients, that then they can overlay that in the geospatial environment using our baseline as the standard, then simply take images on their phone, take 360 data, then just upload it automatically into the platform. So there's lots of flexibility around that. And again, it's about using the right capture technology for your use case. So as I say, I've shown you just touched on the surface of the type of data that's available in the platform as the 360 data. It's one of those things that people are familiar with from just, I suppose, the best analogy I can come up with is what I used to do 30 years ago. If I was planning a trip, I got an atlas. And I got a piece of paper, and you probably all had the atlases with a ribbon that went down the middle, and you went and plan my journey. What's going to happen? Is there going to be traffic? Is it a bank holiday weekend? Went through all these things in your mind. Now you just go on your device. You go into Google Street and go, what's potential? And you get the flagging of what's going to happen. So you're using that technology, and everybody knows how to use Google Street View. So as soon as you go on the platform, you've got that familiarity with it. So you need very little training to get value and get going in the platform. And it's only as you become more advanced, all the tutorials on how to take measurement, how to tag, link information are all built into the platform and videos. So you can just click and access as you want to develop your skill sets. So I think that the platform is really flexible for doing all that type of stuff.
Good. Yes, road atlases. Remember them. But I was just talking the other day about. I've actually forgotten how it is that we used to book hotels when we went away on a business trip. Yeah. How did you know where they were? Okay, good. Anything else before we just move on? Chance for one last comment, if anyone wants to think that. We're through. Okay.